wonder what it takes for someone to go from a fresh grad all the way to a CEO. Well, in this video, we're going to break down the journey step by step and give you the skill to get to the top ranking position. Now, before that, I want to make a disclaimer. While I myself am a CEO, but actually I am more of a founder CEO, which means I founded a company, built it up along the way, and then I naturally am the CEO. So my perspective here that I'm giving in this video is more about what do I identify in my team as I appoint them to move from an executive level all the way to a C level. And why is it relevant? Because I can speak from a board member or a shareholder perspective on who will I choose as my CEO in future. So in this video, we are going to cover the skill set needed, the challenges that you will face, and some of the actionable steps you can apply at each step in this corporate ladder. Hopefully, this will help you to become a CEO in future. Let's start from the very beginning. You just graduated college and now you got your first job. Likelihood, you landed a job as an executive. Unless your parents own the company, then you start as a manager or higher level, right? If not, you generally are going to start as an executive. And this level is what we call an individual contributor. This means you are contributing to the company at an individual capacity. At this level, it's very important that you master these three important skill sets. Number one, technical skill. So master the skill that's needed to complete your job. If you're an engineer, maybe your job is in terms of calculating certain things that's required. If you are a designer in a media company, it's about generating the best design. If you're an editor, it's about your speed of editing and editing a good story. And if, say, you're a lawyer, maybe the groundwork would be you're good at researching and compiling the things, right? So it all depends on what career you are in, and based on the job designated to you, you must have the technical skill to do that job well, very well. Okay, maybe you don't need to be the best of the best, but you have to do it at least above average. Why? Because if you do not even know how to complete your job, it's gonna be difficult for anyone to trust you to take on any leadership role. At the executive level, the communication skill needed here is mainly to be able to articulate your ideas clearly and to be able to build relationship and communicate with your other colleagues. So focus on the ability to articulate those ideas. Here's where I find many fresh grads, right? They are unable to share what they have in their mind. They usually have a great idea, but they just find it hard to articulate it properly so that people can understand. The better you are at it in articulating those ideas into clear plans and clear ideas and benefits to your colleague, the higher the chance you're gonna be taken notice by people. Why? Because when you can articulate your idea clearly, then it's easier for people to work with you. And when it's easier for people to work with you, there's a higher chance that you can be promoted up to leadership ranks. So start with the first thing, articulate your ideas clearly. Oh yeah, I have to say, most people are not born with it. You just have to learn to practice and practice and practice and practice, okay? I'll say it one more time, practice. The third skill that you need to learn is the skill of adapting. Yes, at this level, you need to be very adaptive. Generally, most corporates will tell you like, oh, willingness to learn, willingness to help and stuff like that. Basically, the whole idea here is that you are able to adapt lah. When someone asks you to do something, even it may not be exactly within your job scope, but you must be able to adapt yourself into this environment, to be willing to take extra effort, and more importantly, to be willing to learn things beyond your scope of work. This is going to lay down a good foundation for you to become a good individual contributor. However, here's where you also face your first challenge. Aside from the normal kind of challenge, maybe like
waking up on time, discipline and stuff like that,
the more important challenge here is actually the ability to adapt into a corporate working environment. Are you able to navigate through the office politics? Because all these things, there's no clear guide. Are you able to adapt into the culture of the company? Because again, it is not in your employee handbook, you're going to be able to read the air, read the room, and know what to say at the right time, who to talk to about what, how to go around with the relationship. Very often, this is where a lot of people fail. I myself included lah. That's why I kind of left the corporate world in a very short time and end up building my own company. Well, if you are able to adapt to the corporate structure and corporate politics and move your way through it and navigate your way through it, well, congratulations. you will be able to work with people quite well. Anyway, if you are currently in this position, here are some extra tips that you can work on. Firstly, find yourself a mentor. Having someone to guide you in your career can prove to be a fast track in your career development. Now, it depends on which mentor you're looking at though. If you have a mentor within your work setting, that's great because it means that you have someone who's senior, who is going to pay attention to you and guide you through all this office structure and what you need to equip yourself with to be good at your work. But more importantly, when this mentor are mentoring you at work, when your hard work is seen, you're more likely to be given opportunity to move up the career ranks. On the other hand, you can also have mentor outside of your working environment. Although these people may not be a decision maker in terms of your career advancement and work, but they likely will be able to guide you through how to navigate the complicated work structure and some thought processes so that you can adapt better at work and understand how to do well. One way or another, I think it's always good to get a mentor. I personally have benefited a lot from having mentors in my life. So I'll highly suggest that if you are a fresh grad, go and find yourself a mentor. The next thing is networking. Networking is extremely important. There's this saying that goes, it's not about what you know, but about who you know. In fact, LinkedIn did a study and found that 85% of the jobs are filled through networking. Yep, that's how important networking is. Now, it's totally understandable because it's easier for you to trust someone when someone else vouch for this person or this person is someone you know. Because ultimately when you work together, you want to know whether this person is a trustable character or not. And this trait becomes especially important as you move up the corporate ladder. So, one advice here, start networking as soon as possible. Don't think that when you're a fresh grad, you go to work, you straight away finish, go home. What you can do is after work, try to spend some time with your colleague. Try to spend some time with other people in the same industry, even leaders and so on. That way you are able to put yourself forward and network with a wider amount of people within your industry, thus providing you with better opportunities. Last tip, display an attitude of continuous learning. Now, I'm just going to assume that you have the attitude in you to continuously learn. But what do I mean by displaying that? You know, nowadays there's a lot of all these mini certs that you can take on Google, on LinkedIn and all the other stuff. Go and take one or two of those after you started working for a while. Why? Because it will kind of show to the world that you are still having this hunger for learning and you're making the extra effort to learn. And this does speak for itself because the fact that you can get a mini certification, it meant that you had the discipline to pursue something outside of work and at the same time, you have the hunger to grow. There's no evidence better than that, aside from someone else vouching for you lah. Smart home living is getting more popular these days. From switching on the lights lah, the aircon lah, the TV lah, all it requires today is just your voice. Hey Google, switch on the light. Isn't that frustrating? Of course lah, since we pay so much for the home to become a smarter home. It's supposed to make our lives easier, not worse off ma. So, how smart your home really is will depend on how stable and strong and fast your home internet connection is. More importantly, with so many smart devices in the house, it's important for the Wi-Fi to have a bigger capacity. This is where I want to talk about Time's Wi-Fi 7. I'm sure you heard of this Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 is the next gen lah. But do you know what's even better? Firstly, it has higher speed, more stability. So, you know, those of you who like to stream things in 4K, 8K, 没问题. The signal is also stronger to cover every corner of your house. So no matter where you are in the house, 没问题. It also has a bigger capacity. Like we say these days, everything in the house is smart one ma. So connect to the same Wi-Fi at the same time using Wi-Fi 7, 没问题啊. So for a 没问题 smart home, you can check out Time Internet. They're also the first brand to offer free Wi-Fi 7 devices with existing home internet plan on its fully owned 100% fiber network. I have been their user for quite a while now, so when they approached us, we were happy to partner up with them lah, of course. So if you want a 没问题 internet to make your home smarter and avoid the pain and frustration of a lousy internet, right now you can get Time's 600 Mbps for just 99 ringgit a month for 6 months. And they will even throw in a free Wi-Fi 7 router. And not just that, you know, if you sign up at www.time.com.my, you can enjoy the first month free. So check out the link below to learn more. Alright, now we are done with the executive level. Perhaps you have done well and your boss sees you as someone who is worthy of being given an opportunity. So now you get to rise up the ranks. And in this first level, you're going to enter into what we call the middle management. Here's where you will start leading a team and given the role to make more strategic decisions. Remember earlier we talked about the development of technical skills and people skills, all those? Yeah, if those things are not done well, if you enter this level right now, well, there's a very high chance that you'll get screwed because people won't trust that you are able to deliver the work and won't trust your delegation role because you can't even do your job well. So why should I trust that you can delegate things to me? That's how it works. So remember once again that the base will be very, very, very important. So do your own work first, okay? Then now you enter this leadership position. There are a few skills that you need to develop to ensure that you're going to do well at this level. The first skill is people management skill. Now you have to remember the title of a leader is given to you, but the respect and influence of a leader has to be earned by yourself. So it's very important that you learn to motivate and influence your team and lead effectively. Okay, what do I mean by that? Over the years of running a company, I've seen people who move up to become a leader. They are still remaining in that happy zone with their teammates, right? Because everyone used to be just an executive and they were happy with each other, they help each other and so on. When they become a leader, what they realize is they face an issue. They are still trying to please their colleagues. They are still trying to please their teammates. So what happened is that they make all the decisions that make all the employees or their teammates happy, but end up couldn't deliver results. You must remember, at this point right now, when you step up and become a leader, you're going to start to make decisions where your teammates may not be very happy with. You must remember that your goal is to achieve results with your teammates, not to make them happy. And I find that this shift in mindset is often very difficult for most junior level managers. I'm not saying that you have to drive your teammates like slave and make them all hate you. That's not my point. My point is you have to balance between making them happy and motivating them and at the same time delivering results. You need to find that balance. Your future career progression will be heavily dependent on how you can balance these two acts. Oh yeah, remember earlier we talked about articulating your ideas and communicating with your teammates? It's almost impossible for you to motivate your team members if you aren't able to articulate your idea and communicate with them. So remember, the foundation you build as an executive, it's very, very important. The next skill that you need to build is what we call strategic thinking. To put it in short, it's the ability to look beyond your immediate task and consider the bigger picture. Let me give you an example. Very often when we promoted any one of our staff from an executive level to a team lead, we often notice they struggle to think beyond their own task. Why? Because at the executive level, very often your job is to do very single tasks, right? And maybe your job is just to edit a video or make an arrangement for appointment. And all they do is just focus on that part. But when you move up to be a leader, you need to take yourself out of the situation and look at it at the third party and ask yourself this question. When this did not work well, is it really because this person didn't do the job? Or is it because it's a process issue? Was there a problem with the flow of the information? Was there a problem at the top end here that lead to here? And that's why here the result is like that. Now, when you're able to pull yourself out from those single small issue and look at the process as a whole, you are able to think strategically. And even when you look at the process as a whole, you have to understand what other teams are doing that affects your and how you can work with other people. And that's why you will very often hear your managers, whether good or bad, sometimes they will tell you this thing when you work late.
Just pull through these few days. When these things settle, in future no more problem, right? But right now you need to pull through.
And here's where you see the difference between an executive and a manager. An executive will be thinking, if I have to stay back and do this work, it's an overtime, it's very difficult, you're taking away my time and so on. But as a manager, they understand that if you're able to fix certain things, later, maybe the whole process will be much smoother and you don't have to stay back late anymore once this is being fixed. Now, the third skill here is financial acumen. Okay, you may be thinking yourself, wait, what has it got to do with me, right? Finance, I'm not in finance. Well, no. You have to start learning to think about finance in terms of resources. You need to have a basic understanding of budgeting and resource allocation. Because as you move up the ladder, this will will be a very important foundation for you. Remember earlier we talked about strategic thinking? Yeah. If you do not understand how to allocate resource and budget as a whole, it's almost difficult for you to think strategically, alright? And when you have this ability to think in terms of budget, financing, strategy, well, chances are you are gonna get an opportunity to be promoted to the next level, senior management. But before we go into that, let's talk a little bit about some actionable tips that you can do at this point in your career as a middle management. First, participate in leadership training. Well, it can be joining some courses or workshops, or even read a book. I personally enjoy reading leadership books because I find that there is so much of benefit in it and it's so useful. I really enjoy reading leadership books, and I suggest you pick up one because it is at this junior and middle level of management you will start developing your leadership style. It is like the foundation of your leadership style. So read books, understand what makes a good leader, and put it into practice. The second thing that you can do is learn to delegate. You need to learn to delegate tasks effectively so that you can free up your time. Do understand, this itself is included in the word management. Management role basically is about managing people. It's not about you doing things yourself. It's about you managing people. I've seen many middle management who fail to do that. What they do is they go to their staff, tell them something, but eventually they just get things done themselves. Ultimately, they are not really leading a team. They are just having a lot of people under them and they're helping them to complete their tasks, making themselves an extremely busy manager. I personally like to look at how free a manager is. If I notice a manager is always able to free up his time by delegating tasks and the results are great and able to drive results by delegating tasks, for me, that is where I spot a good manager. One more last actionable tip is to seek feedback. Make it a regular habit to get feedback from your teammates and also from your boss, and work on those feedback to improve your management style. I've met many managers who don't ask for feedback, or if they ask for feedback, they get offended by the feedback. If you're gonna get offended by the feedback, don't ask for feedback lah. But if you don't ask for feedback, you're never gonna know how good you are at it, so you can never improve. Humble yourself and ask for feedback. Listen to it, then improve yourself. Now let's talk about climbing into the senior management role. At this level of management is where you begin to have a significant impact on the company's strategic direction. Your decisions right now will not be just affecting things at a task level, but rather the company's direction. So this means that when you make a wrong decision, the company can either go off course or either stay on course. You're starting to become a very important member of this company. In simple terms, the stakes are higher. At this level of senior management, it is assumed that you already have a team of people. What do we mean by a team? You will have executors, you will have junior level leaders or middle management leaders within that team. These people are people who trust in you, who believes in your vision, and when you say jump, they will ask you how high. So it is not just about you making a decision, but you are able to make a decision and inspire the people beneath you to carry out the execution. So what are the key skills that you need to develop here right now? Well, the first one is visionary leadership. This means the skill set to set long-term goals and inspire people to follow through with them. Remember earlier we talked about the skill set of articulating your ideas? Yeah, if you fail to articulate your idea at a very junior level, do not expect that you're able to articulate your ideas very well at a senior level. And secondly, the ability to delegate roles. Now, I'm not talking about delegation of tasks anymore. I'm talking about delegation of roles and responsibility. Because people underneath you right now is no longer just executive level, but you're talking about leaders as well. Leaders who have their own little teams as well. So you need to be able to set the clear goal and direction and give them clear instruction of what are the results and get them to do the execution and pass down the vision to the people down there. So this kind of leadership is very different from you telling someone, hey, can you do A, B, C, D, E for me? But rather, you are telling people, hey, we want to go to H. Can you just go and do that? If it sounds complicated, I'm going to tell you, yes, it is complicated. It is not a simple leadership position anymore. Remember earlier we talked about reading books? and the ability to think beyond your immediate task and think of the bigger picture, those are things that you really need at this level of leadership. Now, the next skill set you need here is financial skill. At this level, you must be able to understand profit and loss and make investment decisions. Now, I'm not talking about investing companies' money. I'm talking about investing in company resources to advance the company or to make more profit. So yes, those are very important decisions. And yes, you need to see beyond your immediate task and look at the bigger picture. Because remember, at this level, you're not too far away from reporting to the CEO, or maybe you're already directly reporting to the CEO. So a lot of the conversations you're going to have is going to be high level. It's going to be result driven. It's going to be result related, financial related. If you do not understand any of that, well, you're going to have a hard time struggling. Then one more skill set that you need is the ability to assess risk. Because right now at the senior level, a lot of decisions that you're going to make is going to be very important to the company. It's going to steer the company's direction. So you need to know what are the risks like when you make certain decisions and how you're going to mitigate it if things go wrong. By now, you will notice a senior manager's role is starting to move from doing to thinking and planning. So if your previous middle management role did not give you a lot of opportunity to think and plan, but rather it's just about delegating and getting tasks done, well, you will struggle. So remember, use those time, that extra time, to learn how to think, to learn how to develop strategic thinking skills. So those are skills that you need in this senior management role. The better you be at that, the higher the chance you're gonna be at that C level. So let's talk a little bit about some actionable tips, something that you can apply immediately. Now, first thing, obviously, once again, I'll highlight the importance of coaching. At this point, I will highly encourage you to have somewhat of a coach or mentor to help you to refine your leadership and decision-making skill. It could be a paid one, it could be an informal engagement with someone that you respect. Well, basically, find someone to mentor you, because every decision you make at this level has a higher stakes. You want to reduce the amount of mistakes that you have, and the best way to do it is to learn from someone. If you're gonna go trial and error, imagine at the senior management level, you keep making wrong decisions and you tell your CEO,
"Oh, I was just learning on the job."
Bro, that's not gonna work very well, because at this level, people are not really expecting you to learn. People are expecting you to adapt and do well at the job already. So you can make mistakes. It's not like you can't, but you can't be always making mistakes. So really consider coaching. Like I say, it may not be paid, right? So you can even constantly ask for advice from your CEO. There's one thing that I used to do last time. I will purposely meet the highest ranking person that I know and ask them if I can buy them a coffee. They usually will be very shocked, because they will assume that they are the richer person, they'll buy you the coffee. And when you go there and say, "Hey, can I buy you a lunch or buy you a coffee?" they'll be very shocked and they will appreciate it. And sometimes they'll make the time to actually reach out and then have that lunch with you. And it is in those moments that I'll ask them a lot of questions. I will learn from them. And with that, it enables me to learn faster. It guides me to adapt faster in that role as well. Again, if that person is within your company, that's great, because at this level, if the person is higher ranked than you and you ask the person to be your mentor, regularly have a coffee with him, chances are when you do something well, the person will notice it and you are given the opportunity. Number two, you're also building stronger relationship with your boss level people, so they tend to trust you more. Because you have to understand, again, at this level, it's a lot about trust. So it will play a huge role in your career progression. The second tip that is practical for you is networking. And this time, it's more strategic. It's not just going out there and getting to know different people in your industry and so on, but it's about finding the right people to network with. Build relationship with senior leaders of other companies within your industry, or even with clients. Why? So that when you speak to them, you can influence them better. And often in a senior management is really about problem solving. Let me give you an example. Sometimes when we deal with clients and so on, if let's say the person is at a lower level management and they talk to the client, it's sometimes more difficult. But when it is a senior management person and they know the senior management of the other company, suddenly everything will become smoother one. So this kind of relationship is very valuable to help you to grow your career, because somehow it also helps you to get things done. You get what I mean, huh? The third practical tip that you should apply is innovation. Okay, what do I mean by innovation here? It means that that you constantly try to improve your company so that they can be more strategic and push forward. So one very practical example is this. Always look at the whole workflow of your company, the processes, the result, the key activities. Then ask yourself this simple question. Is there anywhere that I can focus on to improve just by a little bit? Then it brings me great result. Since at this level, a lot of your job are in thinking and planning, the ability to identify key activities that can bring multiplier in results is very, very important. And this is where you will truly shine, because at a senior management level, you are expected to do one thing: bring results. It doesn't matter whether the people down there go do their job, never do their job. You can't blame them anymore. You need to have full responsibility and say, by the end of the year, if this is not done, it is my fault. And that's how your boss is going to look at you. They brought you in to manage the staff. If the staff has problem, it's your problem. If results are not hit, it's your problem. And that's why you're being paid as a senior manager. And now finally, we reach the top of the career ladder, the C-suite. Okay, let's acknowledge the fact that some of you may not end up being a CEO. Some of you could be the CFO, COO, or whatever lah. But basically, you're going to be at the C level. Oh, by the way, fun fact. Do you know that most of the CEOs are not appointed from outside of the organization? Very often, CEOs are appointed from within an organization. So, if you are thinking about becoming a CEO of a company, it's best that you stay loyal to the company at least from a senior management level onwards. Why? Because they usually want to hire a CEO that understands the company. So when you're able to spend a long period there, you're considered as someone who knows the company best and earn your leadership position there. In other words, your opportunity to become a CEO is higher. At this level, you are at the top of the hierarchy. And by now, every decision you make will shape the company's direction, because literally you are going to set the company's direction. Needless to say, at this level, you need to have a strong team of loyal followers, people who are going to work hard and carry out your vision. You're going to have a team of people where it consists of senior management, junior management, all the way down to executive. Guess what? You won't be able to talk to all of them. You will only be able to reach out to your senior manager, sometimes at the middle management as well. But chances are, if you're in a big organization, you won't even know your staff by name. Only those who work closely with you. Again, I'm going to highlight whatever skill set you built earlier are going to serve as a strong foundation for you here. If you fail to build any of those things, so sorry, you're going to struggle real hard. Because remember, the title of the CEO is given to you, but the respect and influence of a CEO is something you have to earn. Now, very often leaders who have the CEO quality will display such quality even before they are appointed as a CEO. So, I will highly suggest that even at a senior level management, you need to start thinking like a CEO. Just don't behave like one where you order people and cross the line lah, huh? But you need to start thinking like one and acting like one to a certain extent. Then only the board members or the company owners will be comfortable to appoint you as the CEO. Now that you got the role, let's move on to the skill set that you need to have. The first skill set that you need to have is the ability to spot leaders. Yes, at a CEO level, at a C-suite level, your main job when it comes to deal with people is to be able to identify who are good leaders, then train them, groom them. This is a whole different category of leadership again. It's being a leader of leaders. It's about succession planning. It's about understanding that if you are unable to perform your role, someone else can take over. It is also part of risk management. Here, one point that I want to highlight. If you are the kind of person who's very jealous of talents, as in if your staff is performing better than you, you will feel insecure, well, this is not going to be good. You're going to be a very, very busy CEO. Do understand the fact, the higher you move up management, the more important is your skill set in appointing great people. So, if everyone who works under you are lousier than you, chances are you're going to have a lousy company. But if everyone who works under you are better than you, chances are you're going to have a great company. You need to think like that. So, it is a skill set that you have to learn to be secure in your position as a leader. The next skill set that you need to develop and be master at is the ability to look at the industry and the global markets and make decisions accordingly. Because at this highest level of leadership, your job is to set the company's direction to navigate through competitions and the changing world markets. So very often you need to be updated with news, with what's happening in the industry. You need to know what's happening all around. Then using all those information, make a good decision. It's not just about market as well. You need to be able to collect information from your management and from your company to know where your company is standing at, understanding the health, position, competitive advantage, what you are able to do good, what you are weak at, and combining all this information together, make a decision. So in fact, today as a CEO myself, I spend a lot of time collecting information about the industry, from my staff, from my management team, to understand where we are at in relevance to the industry, then making the right decision. So yes, it's complicated and it can feel very tiring to the brain. Let me give you a perspective how tiring it is, right? You can get headache just thinking sometimes. That is how tiring it is. The next skill set you need to develop is negotiation skill. Because remember, the people that you're working with right now internally are senior managers. And if they're good, they know their position. And very often when you need them to do something, there will be a lot of negotiation. So you need to be very, very good at negotiation. Even when you're working in industry partners and so on, you are still going to be involved with a lot of negotiation. So mastering that negotiation skill is crucial at this level. One more skill that will be very, very important is emotional intelligence. You need to have the ability to manage your emotions and understand the emotions of other people. You have to remember, as a CEO, you are seen as the anchor of the company. If your emotions is always up and down, and there's no consistency, it's going to be hard for people to work with you. You need to have that aura and appearance of an anchor, someone that they can depend on. I'm not saying that you can't get angry and scold people. Steve Jobs is one that you will see him throwing things and scolding people. But there is some sort of that emotional stability that you know this person will have that resilience to push through. That is what I mean by emotional intelligence in terms of managing yourself. And on the other hand, because there's a lot of negotiation that goes around, your EQ also has to be very good in terms of managing how other people feel. Because at this point, people who are working with you, like I say, they are all leaders as well. So you need to take care of their emotions so they can motivate the people under them to work towards the direction that you have set. Now, let's talk about challenges, because being a CEO is not a bed of roses. It is really a difficult position to be in. There's a reason why you're being paid well. It's because of the difficulty of the work, the complexity of the work. So one of the things that CEO often face is scrutiny. Since you're now the face of the company, whatever that happens, it's always going to be your fault as the CEO. And you have no one else to blame. You can't say that because the guy down there did not edit his video. Well, again, it's your fault. You did not inspire the company to do the right thing. You can only fall back on yourself. And that's why sometimes certain CEOs feel like it's a very lonely journey. And in spite of all this, you have to maintain the company's culture and drive the company ahead. So how can you overcome all these challenges? The first practical tip is this: develop mental resilience. Yes, the ability to bounce back when something bad happens. Because as a CEO, every day you're going to be faced with a lot of issues, and very often it's only big crises that will be brought up to CEO, right? So chances are every day the things that you deal with is going to be very sensitive, it's going to be difficult, you're going to face a lot of criticisms and so on. So you must be able to bounce back fast. Whenever you hear bad news, whenever you're not happy about something, you can only give yourself a short period, then you have to bounce back immediately and work at the most effective possible way. You can't let emotions get in the way. And it's not just about dragging your feet to go to work. You gotta have that energy and that enjoyment to deal with all these challenges despite of the fact that it is difficult. You gotta enjoy it. So the ability to bounce back is extremely important. If not, it's just gonna drive you crazy and you're gonna go into depression. Second tip is to stay humble and adaptable. Why? Because usually when you're already a CEO, you are considered someone with a lot of experience and you're probably quite good at what you do and you can understand your industry quite well. But the issue is this: the world is always changing, and very often as a CEO, if you think you are so great and you refuse to adapt, you will end up not driving the company to grow. The key here is you are actually a steward of the company. You're supposed to take care of the company. So as the world changes, as the market changes, as the industry changes, you are supposed to be able to lead the company to navigate through all this complexity and still thrive and grow as a company. So if you're not humble enough and you always think that you are the best, you know everything in the world, you're not going to be able to adapt. So remain humble and adaptive. Personally, I like to even go down to my executive level staff and ask them, what can we do better? Because sometimes at the ground level, they see more changes in the industry than we do. Very often, as a CEO, you are caught up in all the high-level discussion that you will forget or you will miss out what is truly happening at the ground. So be humble enough and adaptive enough to actually know what's happening and shift your course and charter a path for your company's growth. The third actionable tip that is very, very important is to build a strong team around you. Have confidence. Have people who are willing to share the burden with you. Because as I said earlier, being a CEO can be a very lonely journey. It requires you to bounce back very quickly, you're going to handle a lot of crisis, and everything is on your shoulder. You have the most information. The burden of decision making is on your hands. So it feels really difficult sometimes. So it's very important that you have people that you can talk to, people that you can discuss with, people that you can rely and depend on. Don't think that you are a superhuman just because you are a CEO. You are just a man. And because you're just a man, you can fall. Because you're just a man, you can be weak. It's okay. So build people around you that you can trust. It can be a team of mentors, can be a team of lieutenants, can be a team of friends. People that can help you to be strong, because your number one priority here as a CEO is to take care of your mental health so that it doesn't get into the way of the company's growth. So don't think by just being a CEO means that you need to sacrifice yourself from top to the end and die for the company. Hustle, hustle, hustle. No. The moment that you're mentally burnt out, it's going to be hard for you to lead the company. So understand the fact that when you take a step back and take care of your own mental health by having that strong team to walk with you, it is actually helping the company. So that is the journey going from a fresh grad all the way to the top office as a CEO. It is a long journey and there's a lot to be learned. And I would say that it is something that you can't skip any of those steps, because every step is building a foundation to the next level. If you skip any of that, your foundation is weak. The chances are the higher you go, the faster you are gonna crumble. So build the foundation from where you are today. While you may not be a CEO of a company yet, do remember, you are the CEO of your life. So think about your life like a company, set goals, invest, take risks, grow yourself, invest in yourself, and ultimately, hopefully, you're not just a CEO of your own life, but a CEO of a company as well, if that's what you wish for. By the way, guys, if you're watching this and you are a CEO, we would like to reach out to you to learn about your journey and probably feature you in our video as well. So do share with us, reach out to us via our Instagram, DM us there, or send us an email at mrmoney@mrmoneytv.com.